Hey everyone, welcome to Next Up Live. I'm your host, Ben Hallbrooks here at NXTsoft, and I get to interview the good people of NXTsoft. We get to hear a little bit about fintech, cybersecurity, everything in between. And today I have with me Jay Brackman. So Jay, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Jay is with our threat advice cybersecurity platform here at NXTsoft. So Jay is going to unpack for us today one of, I think, the huge things going on in the cybersecurity space, certainly this year and in probably the previous several years at least, but it seems like it's everywhere, ransomware. So Jay, just break down for us what is ransomware? I think people see the headlines, they know it's out there, but maybe they don't fully understand what is it to begin with.
Sure. So ransomware, in a real basic sense, is malicious software. It can be malicious software that's been installed on your computer or on a server that you access, and it could be downloaded by someone itself. You may not know you're downloading it, but it ends up getting on a server or on your computer. The only way to get it off is to pay a ransom.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, I've just seen, just thinking off the top of my head, this ransomware has targeted pretty much any industry, really, right? No one's immune.
No one's immune, and it happens a lot of times with companies that have a broad array of services. That they'll have a lot of different ways to access their computers or their servers, and yes, it could affect anybody. It affects banks. It affects municipalities. It's affected municipalities, school systems, very large companies, small companies. Again, they're just going after the money. These hackers are going after the money.
Absolutely. So why are these kind of attacks increasing? Why is ransomware on the rise?
Because of the money. Just what I said. I mean, that there's so much money out there to be made, and these hackers understand the fact that most people are going to have to pay. If you want your data back and you don't have good backups, and you can't operate, a lot of times these hackers will get you and they'll hold you for ransom for a day or 2 days. And if it's affecting your systems, then your company can't operate. So if you can't get backups from somewhere, then you're going to have to pay. And they know they can get paid, and they know they can get away because you have to usually pay them in Bitcoin.
And I've seen reports that say, many times when people pay, they still don't actually get their data back.
Yeah, ironically, most of them are pretty ethical in that way. If you pay, they will release your data. But it does happen every once in a while where they still won't release your data, even if you pay.
Pretty scary stuff. I saw a study recently, Jay, that said, I think it was over 66% of American businesses said that a ransomware attack, to recover from a ransomware attack, it would take them more than 5 business days. And you're talking about shutting down operations. That's a massive blow to a company.
It's a huge, massive blow to a company. It's affected a lot of different municipalities, not only in Georgia where I live, but in a bunch of other states. And it shut down services. Think about it. This affects 911 services in most cases, because if everything flows back to one central network for the county or for the city, it affects everything. And there've been counties and cities in the Georgia area that have been, part of the services have been down for months just because of a ransomware attack. Because here's what I didn't mention this before, but here's what they tell you when you go to the FBI or go to your local sheriff and say, hey, we've been hit by ransomware. When they contact you back, they always tell you not to pay.
Mm.
And the reason they tell you not to pay is because they don't want to give in to these hackers. And so the more they get paid, the more they want to do this. So they try to tell you not to pay, but sometimes you have to, because you've got to get your services back.
Sure. So, I mean, given how, obviously impactful this kind of thing is, how do we combat this? How do we combat ransomware?
Good question. Well, one of the first things is you've got to have you've got to secure the front lines of your organization. A lot of times, how this software gets on computers and gets on servers is from people in the front lines of your organization clicking on something wrong. We've talked about this before, and people talk about don't click on that. If you get an unsolicited email that has a PDF or has some type of attachment, even though it looks like a picture, even though it looks like somebody you might know, if something's wrong with the email or the extension, do not click on it. So one of the things that we do here at NXTsoft is we provide cybersecurity education for all of our customers, and we're looking for more customers to do that for. And this cybersecurity education platform makes everyone in your front line take tests. They're very short tests. You watch short little videos that are under 5 minutes. You learn about what the threats are, so you make better decisions about what to click on and what not to click on. And that's one way to combat ransomware, is to make sure your frontline employees are not allowing it to come in very easily. Because a lot of these hackers, instead of hacking directly into the system, they'll just send a bunch of phishing emails to people in your organization, and people will click on the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of just regular people, non-technical people, assume when they think about cybersecurity, they think it's just overly technical and they don't really play a role. Where you just pointed out, it's really both. I mean, yes, there's a technical side, but there's also a huge just people side to it. And often the hackers know that's the weak link. So I think that's I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, work from home. You know, we live in an environment, obviously, 2020 moving forward, probably in a big way, where many employees are going to be working from home. What does this kind of prevention look like in our work from home environment?
Yeah, another good question. As we work from home, well, let's just say this. When we were all working from the office, if you were working on something on your computer, most of the time in most server and computer tamed environments, if you had something on your computer and you were on the domain or on the network, the local network, your computer was getting backed up all the time. So you weren't losing any of your data. One of the other keys to combating ransomware is making sure your backups are good. Now that we're working from home and we're not on the actual domain at work anymore, one of the keys that we need to do as employees, and IT departments need to remind all their people about this, is make sure you're saving stuff not to your desktop or not to your hard drive. Make sure you're saving very important data you're working on, or documents you're working on, or ones you're saving and working on with other people. Make sure you're saving into the cloud somewhere. So most every company today, every municipality, every bank has a software where they allow you to save documents to a cloud-based system. It could be with one of the bigger companies, with Google or with Microsoft. But make sure you're saving data there and not saving stuff locally to your machine. And it doesn't that way, if your machine ever got ransomware, they could wipe your machine. It wouldn't matter. You could get all your data back from the cloud.
So you've got that backup. We've been talking about prevention, which I know is huge. But let's say someone does get, or their system does get infected with ransomware. What should they do?
When it happens, you're going to have something come up on your screen. The key is to immediately remove yourself from the network. So if you're working from home and you're working on a wireless network, like at your house, make sure you remove your computer or your iPad or whatever you're using. Remove that from the network immediately. Exactly the same thing when you're at the office. If you're working with a wireless connection, or if you're working with a hardwired connection, make sure you unplug the network cable from your computer. Make sure you know what that is and remove that. That's the best way. What you don't want to do is your infected computer or a server just start infecting other machines, and it can happen quickly.
That's right. Keep it isolated.
Right.
Well, I do know. Thank you, Jay, for your insight on this. I do know that we do have a number of other good ransomware resources on the NXTsoft site. So if anyone's watching and you want to check that out, you can go to blog.nextsoft.com and just type in ransomware. We've got a number of great articles and videos and other resources that are there, some that you, Jay, have contributed to. So I do want to point that out. But thanks again for your time today. I think that's been really edifying, and it's been helpful for me, hopefully for viewers as well. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Ben. Glad to be here.
All righty. See ya.